While it's true that I do a lot of stuff in open source and all that, that's only a part of it. What I'm really involved with, and what I've been involved with for far longer than I have been with open source, is the concept of products, developing products. Now, between 1981 and 2006, we suffered what is known as the PC era. The PC era is not something that I look back on very fondly, because it really didn't give users much of interaction, much to learn or whatever. They were basically forced to sit down, okay, now you do this, now you click this and do that, and that was it. So what used to happen is that users used to go and work on computers, which was completely against the concept of what computers were supposed to be doing, which was they were supposed to be working for the users. Now in 1981 to 2006, which is the PC era, pretty much nothing changed. Okay, we had a few years of DOS, and then we had Windows, and then everybody started copying Windows, including the Linux guys, which a group which I was part of. And every time you looked at a computer screen, it looked like it was running Microsoft Windows. It didn't matter what OS it was actually running. That changed dramatically in 2006 when the mobile era came in. Now the mobile era changed something very fundamental when it came to computing. What it did was, instead of you going to the computer to work with it, the computing power went with you. But it also changed something completely, it changed everything, okay? Now in 2010, you may wonder why that particular year. Because in that particular year, a product was released that, well, changed everything, okay? I'm basically talking about the iPad. The iPad was something that was radically different from both the mobile stuff that was floating around at that time, as well as the PC stuff. And therefore it was declared that this is going to be a complete failure. Well, the world kind of got a reality check when the iPad sold like never before. I'll get back to that in a moment. Just let me explain why this was so dramatic. So, until then, people used to develop products, whether it was hardware products or software products or whatever, and they were usually designed by people who knew how to design or who knew how to create these products, typically engineers. How many engineers around here? Could you just raise your hands? Okay, I shouldn't have asked. Engineers sat down and developed those products. Unfortunately, engineers are the most clueless people on earth when it comes to designing products. They have absolutely no clue what users actually want. So that was a reality check. After people were told that the iPad is going to bomb because who would use such a thing? And it's sold like never before. They said the same thing about the iPhone also, but it was more dramatic than the iPad. The concept, the problem over here is one of recycled audiences. Now, recycled audiences is something that you're going to find very hard to swallow. But this is the real thing. Look at this picture. Assume that this represents the people who design products, engineers. Okay? This also represents the group of people, the audience that they were targeting. Or they didn't say that they were targeting only engineers, but they were developing products which could basically be used only by engineers. No one knew how to use the product better than the guy who developed it. This is horrible, because if you look at this next picture, it will make your hair stand up, and it will give you an idea of just where you, as a product designer of any sort, really stand. You see, if these are the product developers, then these are your users. And these users are not part of your subset. They are not engineers. They're people who just want to use whatever product you're designing. And if you design it to be only used by that small group of people, which is less than 0.001% of the total market available to you, guess what? You have a product that's not going to sell. On the other hand, if you design a product that is not meant for those people over there in the corner, but meant for the larger mass of people, then that small group of people over there will sit and ridicule you. They'll laugh at you, say, what is this? This is so simple, this is nothing, there's nothing to it. It doesn't have a USB port, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have that. And then you end up having a very long face when these millions of people start buying that product that you were just ridiculing. It means that you have to basically change. You have to change the way you think. Designing products is not about complexity. It is not about, oh, the more complex it is and the more beeps and LEDs and, whatever they are, the better, people will think it's a more complex product and therefore it will, people will think it's a better product. That's not true. The success of a product, it doesn't matter whether it's an electronic product, whether it's a piece of software, whether it's toilet paper. It doesn't matter what it is. The success lies in the user experience. If the user is not comfortable using your product, the user isn't going to use that product. And you know what that means? It means that the user isn't going to buy your product. And you know what that means? It means that you are out of a job. You have basically failed at doing what you were supposed to do. You need to basically not make the 15 million mistakes that all the tech pundits in 2010 made. By declaring that something is going to fail because, oh, it doesn't have this and it doesn't have that and all. You know why the iPad doesn't have a USB port? Do you know why it doesn't have a quad-core processor? Do you know why it doesn't have a keyboard? Because users don't need those things. They don't want them. They want life to be simpler than that. They've just suffered 20 plus years of horrible PCification of their lives, and they now want to get on with their lives. 15 million mistakes? When the iPad was launched, people said, oh, they are not going to sell more. This is going to be like one of their previous products, the Newton. They're not going to sell more than 100,000 of them, at the most a million. Within 9 months, they sold 15 million of them. And that was a message that was heard by every single engineer around the world. All of a sudden, everyone was scrambling, trying to rethink everything that they had been thinking about so far. And how can we replicate this? And they tried. Products came out and they were very much like the iPhone or the iPad or whatever successful product is out there, but they still didn't sell. Why? Can you guess why the products didn't sell? The most successful competitor that the iPad has sold a slightly less than 6 million pieces compared to, I don't know, recently was on some 120 odd million pieces that Apple has sold. Why? The reason is because the iPad was already out there. You got to do better than that. You got to do something different. You got to think differently. And that think differently, the secret to most product designers' success has never been to, oh, it works for that guy, let me also do the same thing, basically copycat. Or it has always worked this way, we have always done it this way, we shall continue to do it that way and people will buy. That's not going to work. Let me give you a simple, small example of what I'm talking about. What is the time? What was the immediate reaction our friend here resorted to find out the time. Yes? He didn't whip out his quad-core 3 gigabit chrono computer and boot it up with whatever. That is how you design products, so that they're intuitive. That a normal person does not have to think twice, okay, do I have to press Control-Alt-Del now to get the time? It doesn't work that way. So if you think this only works for computers, check this out. You know this guy? That guy. That's Raghu Dixit. Raghu Dixit is a singer. How many people here have seen Raghu Dixit perform? I know, a lot of them. The damage in the roof is still to be found. Raghu was someone who was following the regular path of life. Education, job, advertising, so on and so forth. And then he decided to do things differently. Everybody laughed at him. Are you crazy, Raghu? You're never going to get anywhere with this. What he did is he started singing Kannada songs. He started singing Kannada songs in the UK, in the US, in Mongolia, where people don't know Kannada. But you know what is the difference between Raghu going and singing Kannada songs on a stage in the UK and someone who knows to play music, can play a rock guitar or whatever, and going and playing in the UK? Two things. One is he's extremely good at what he does, which is of course expected of you. Okay, as a product designer, and Raghu is the product, his music is the product, he is expected to be very good at it. But he does something that other people don't do. He engages his audience. He grabs his audience by the collar and says, listen to me. You will sing along with me. I don't care if you only speak English. You will sing this Kannada song with me. And you know what happens? The audience sings along because they love it. They don't care that's a different language, that's something else. They get caught up with the spirit. They are engaged and they go on. This is what makes Raghu Dixit the highest selling, hottest music property that we have in the country today. Internationally, not just here. So if you thought that we're talking only about iPads and PCs and whatnot, it applies to every product they can possibly think of. Let's get back to something that you're familiar with. Computers, right? Everybody here knows computers. Anyone who doesn't know computers here or doesn't use computers here? Nobody dares to put up there. So here's the statement for the 21st century. We need fewer computers. We don't need computers anymore. You see, the problem you're facing, whatever the technology is you're dealing with, okay, when it comes to computers, the next billion users are not going to use computers. They will not use computers. If you present something as a computer, they will reject it. If you present something as a complex piece of technology that requires quad processor and whatnot, you have to hold it this way, and then do this to get it to work. Okay, and where you have to attend classes to figure out how to use the thing, and then you are not going to be selling those products. And those days are over. They are gone. I'm not saying that the PC is dead. The PC will be around for a long time, but it will cater to a very specific kind of person. Actually, you are that kind of person. Because you have to use computers to create products, pieces of software, whatever, that others are going to use. But you have to be able to think like that. So stop thinking like engineers. Okay? Thinking like engineers isn't going to get you anywhere. When you're designing a product, when you're creating a product, you have to stop designing fancy user interfaces. This is the big thing. Here in India, especially here in India, I unfortunately run into this problem so many times. And I just had a nice Twitter flame war going on about it yesterday, where I said that basically the reason why Indian products don't get anywhere is because they're fairly shoddily created. Immediately somebody comes back and says, but see, here's this product, it's got such a beautiful user interface. I don't care about pretty user interfaces. I care about usability. Okay? The most successful product which is out there is a product that has almost no user interface. Think about it. Your watch, your wristwatch, what kind of user interface does it have? Or if you go to the bathroom and you turn the tap, what kind of user interface does it have? It doesn't have a fancy GUI plus, okay, 50 degrees cold water, 50% cold water, 25% hot water, and add 5% soap. Click, boom. Okay, the most successful products have virtually no user interface. The iPad, the iPhone, and most of the successful devices out there right now have virtually no interface. The application itself directly is the interface. The focus is on the user experience. The user experience. The user experience. As long as you keep in mind that eventually your product is going to be bought by someone who intends to use it, you're doing fine. The second you're going to start creating a product that you and your friend and classmate can use, and maybe someone who's got a PhD in whatever computing can use, you're bombed out. Pretty user interfaces don't make a great user experience. Lots of colors all over the place don't make a great user experience. Usability, simple. I shouldn't have to think about it. The first time I saw the application which I'm using right now to change the slides, there's nothing here on the screen which prompts me, press this button to change the slides. It just becomes clear to me that all I need to do is do this. Right? The slide changes. It's as simple as that. If you want to have a successful product, if you want to design something that millions, maybe billions of people will use in the future, stop thinking like engineers. Focus on the user. Because if you don't, you're wasting your time. I can tell you that from a lot of experience. I've created a lot of products myself. I've worked for companies that have created products. I've seen it all. And then I see some single guy sitting somewhere far away in the world create a product which suddenly everyone wants to use. And you know how stupid that makes me feel? 25 years in the industry, with all that experience behind me, having created so many products, there's some kid, and I'm talking about kid here, okay? A 14-year-old kid sitting in the UK who sits and creates a product that everyone wants to use. And then starts copying that product to create their own product, because they also want to be as successful as him. Focus on the user. Don't focus on yourself when you're creating a product. And it doesn't matter whether you're creating a computer product or a hardware product, or whether you're doing rock music, or whether you're making a new roll of toilet paper. Just focus on the user. If you have any questions for me, this is where you can get me. I'm just out of my 18 minutes, so thanks a lot for listening.